Hello everybody, and welcome back to Bandwagon Sports. I am your host, Stephen Hayward, and today we are going to be looking at the top 10 players from the IIHF U18s tournament, and the tournament just wrapped up a couple days ago with Canada winning the gold medal, but now I wanted to get a good chance and take a look at the top 10 players out of that tournament, in my opinion. So without further ado, let's hop into today's video. And here at number 10, I got Swedish winger Fabien Lisl. And Fabien Lisl is a very interesting prospect in this year's draft, but no matter how interesting he is, it does not take away a single thing from his U18's performance. In 9 games this year for the Sweden team, he put in 3 goals, 6 assists for 9 points, and he was probably the most impressive player on the Swedish roster. There were a couple players who disappointed me, guys like Simone Robertson and Simone Edmondson, who are also being labeled as top 15 picks, and I thought Fabien Lisl was the best out of everyone on that team. He really displayed that offensive IQ, just really looking good, making smart plays out on the ice. Great passing ability, great shooting ability, and also displayed his underrated two-way game a bit, I thought, as well. So, without further ado, let's move on to number 9. And here at number 9, I have Belarus defenseman Dmitry Kuzmin. Now, I don't think a lot of people knew about Kuzmin before this tournament, and I still don't think a lot of people know about him after. But thing with Kuzmin that I really like, he has great offensive abilities. In 5 games played in the U18s, he had 1 goal, 4 assists for 5 points, and overall I thought he was the best looking player out on the ice for Belarus at any given moment. Their goalies also played great, and there's the guy who got a Michigan, which it counts for something, but I thought that Kuzmin overall was the most complete player on that team, and I do really think that this tournament raised his draft stock quite a bit, so let's move on to number 8. And now, coming in at number 8, I got Russian center Fyodor Zvechkov, and Fyodor Zvechkov has been one of my favorite players in this draft class for a few months now, and I think he's just super underrated in general. And you know, there are still some concerns with Zvechkov's offensive game, but I think this tournament really put those offensive woes aside. In 7 games played, Zvechkov had 4 goals, 6 assists for 10 points for Team Russia, and I thought he mixed really well with guys like Nikita Chibekov, Matvey Michkov, Daniil Yurov, a couple other guys too, Ivan Mirosnichenko. Just some really great Russian talent overall, and I thought Fyodor Zvechkov fit right in offensively with those guys, and I thought that his defensive game was also a step ahead of those guys. So I got Zvechkov here at number 8. Move on to number 7. It's time to move on to number 7. And now, coming in here at number 7, I got another Russian forward, Nikita Chibekov. Now, Nikita Chibekov, him and Zvechkov are still very close in my rankings overall, and I still think I give the edge to Zvechkov in this draft, but overall I think Nikita Chibekov is a great offensive tool, a great offensive player. And in 7 games in this tournament, he had 4 goals, 7 assists for 11 points, and Chibekov's a really great player who can kind of do it all offensively. He has good hockey smarts in the offensive zone. He can pass, he can shoot. He just really finds a way to make a play, and I saw that a lot in this tournament where he found a way to make a play, and he looked really impressive, notching 13 points in this tournament. So I got Chibekov at 7. Time to move on to number 6. And now here at number 6, for the most impressive players in the World Juniors, I have the only Finnish player on this list, center Samu Tuomalo, and I really like Tuomalo. I think currently he is still a, early second-round pick, late first-round pick, but I do think that this tournament really did show what he can potentially be at the NHL level. He was very good for Team Finland. In 7 games, he had 5 goals, 6 assists for 11 points. And in the last game they played against Sweden, they got shut out. So it's really 6 games. He had 11 points. And I think Samu Tuomalo was very good in this tournament. Like I said, just really showing some of his offensive capabilities. I think Samu Tuomalo is also a good two-way player. So he was solid in his own end as well. Just a good transitions in neutral ice, and I think he just really helped Team Finland reach that 4th overall spot when a lot of guys were kind of disappointing on that roster. So now, let's move to number 5. And now, here at number 5, I have Canadian center Mason McTavish. And Mason McTavish, he's had a lot of mystery surrounding him this season since he hasn't played in the OHL. He went over to the Swiss League, been amazing there, and he came into this tournament with maybe mediocre expectations. I didn't have any expectations for McTavish going into the U18s, but he impressed. In 7 games, McTavish had 5 goals, 6 assists for 11 points. He was a really great offensive piece, probably the 3rd best player on that Canadian team, and I think this tournament really helped raise his draft stock and show that he was a legitimate center sniper in this year's draft, and I expect him to go in the top 20 this year, so let's move on to number 4. Now here at number 4, I have Russian Daniil Yurov, and to be honest, I don't know a single thing about Daniil Yurov. He is a member of the 2022 draft class, and he's a guy who kind of just came out of nowhere for me. So Daniil Yurov was pretty damn good in this tournament. In 7 games, he had 4 goals, 7 assists for 11 points, and looked like one of the best players on Team Russia. He made some really great outstanding plays in the offensive zone. I thought he was really good in transition, and overall just looking like a really solid piece for that 2022 draft class, which I'm super excited for. Daniil Yurov probably projects to be a top 20 pick in that draft. I currently have him in my top 10 after that tournament, but we will see what happens next year. So let's move on to number 3. And now, moving on to the top 3, and you guys should know every player in this top 3 there. Some pretty popular players. But here at number 3, I have Canadian centerman Shane Wright. And currently Shane Wright is the consensus number 1 pick for the 2022 NHL entry draft. And, I don't really know if there's much competition at this point. Shane Wright was so great in the U18s. Hasn't stepped on the ice yet this year other than this tournament, but what can I say? He was spectacular. In 5 games played, he had 9 goals, 5 assists, for 14 points, and he looked like the best player on that Canadian team. Just so outstanding. The goal-scoring ability showed. The offensive ability showed. He was just so spectacular, so flashy, just an overall nuisance in the offensive zone, a guy you couldn't stop at all. And I have him here at number 3, so let's go on to the top 2. And now here at number 2, I have the final Canadian on this list, and that is Canadian center Connor Bedard. And what can I say about Connor Bedard? He just wants to upset me because I'm a huge fan of Matvei Michkov, not a big fan of Bedard. I know Bedard has lots of skill. I just not a huge fan, but he was so good. 15 years old, comes to the U18s in 7 games, had 7 goals, 7 assists for 14 points, and looked like the second best player on that Canadian team behind Shane Wright, which for a 15-year-old is nothing to scoff at. And, he's having a great year in the WHL, and there's just not enough good things that I can say about Bedard in this video, which is why I'm going to be making a video on Shane Wright, Connor Bedard, and Matvei Michkov pretty soon in the near future. But just know that Connor Bedard is the real deal. Next Connor McDavid, and he's outstanding. So let's move on to the number 1 spot. And finally, at the number 1 spot, I have my favorite prospect probably ever, and that is Russian forward Matvei Michkov. And Matvei Michkov is in the same boat as Connor Bedard, where there's just so much spectacular things to say about him that I don't have the time to say it in this short little clip. But just know Matvei Michkov is the next Alex Ovechkin. He is outstanding goal-scoring ability. He had a Michigan and a through-the-legs goal in the same game, and he won the tournament MVP, and it was well-deserved. In 7 games, Matvei Michkov had 12 goals, 4 assists for 16 points, and led the Russians to a silver medal appearance, and he was just spectacular throughout the whole tournament. Easily the best player in this U18s, and I don't even think it's up for debate. He was miles ahead of everybody, and he is only 16 years old. He is in the 2023 draft class, so technically he is still 3 years away from being drafted, which is just insane to me. These guys coming up in the 2023 draft class look so good already, and I cannot wait for that draft to happen. So, that's it. And, well, that's going to do it for this video. So, you know, there's some guys on this list who I definitely wouldn't have expected to put up performances like this. But you guys tell me below who you think I missed out on that list. I respond to every comment I receive. I love the feedback. And if you want to, give a like on this video and subscribe. Or if you just came along for the ride, I'm happy you made it this far. So thank you all so much for watching. And I'll see you in the next video. But for now, bye.